Watching Kirk Franklin's mother cry at the end of this was like watching a villain with terrible motivations cry genuine tears of pain and hurt because they will no longer be able to cause pain and destruction on anyone else. She made a statement when the news was being given to her and it was starting to sink in, even though she was still denying it. She said, "I've wanted this so badly and I still can't have you." That statement makes no sense in any other context other than if we acknowledge that in her mind, having him, I still can't have you. Having him means having something over him, holding something over him. The pain and hurt that he always had of that abandonment and knowing who his biological mother was, but never being able to have a loving relationship with her. And she described it as a scab, or he described it as a scab being torn off every time he sees her, so the wound can never heal. And that, coupled with not knowing who his biological father was, or the lie that it was somebody else other than the actual person, him finding that out, him picking those pieces up, that's him healing. And if he's healed, if he's not broken, then she will never be able to have anything over him. She doesn't have a hold over him. For her, love is having some type of hold over somebody that's broken. That's the only way I can make sense of, I've wanted this so badly and I still can't have you. It wasn't like she was trying to be in his life. She just wanted to hover around his life just enough to have that thing over him, to no matter how accomplished you are, no matter how many Grammys you win, I still know that you're the broken orphan who's missing something in your life, and I'm the key to that. Long as I have that over you, no matter what you gain, no matter how much money, power, success, I'm holding something over you that you can't accomplish on your own. And then when he accomplished that and finding out who his biological father was, it hurt her that she will no longer be able to hurt him because he's about to start healing. Now, what happened here? Going back to the beginning, I wanted to skip to the end because that just needed to be said. But going back to the beginning, what essentially happened here is that a funeral of one of Kirk Franklin's biological relatives, his biological dad happened to be at the funeral because he's in the area. And while at that funeral, this man, not knowing that he was Kirk Franklin's biological dad, he mentioned to somebody that he used to date Deborah, that's Kirk Franklin's mom. And when he said they dated back when they were kids, I'm assuming teenagers, everybody started looking at him and saying, yeah, he does kind of look like Kirk. Oh, look at his height, look at his hands, look at his nose, look at his ears. Yeah, that's probably Kirk daddy. Kirk been an orphan. Everybody been trying to figure out who his daddy is. That might be it right there. And the rumors start running rampant throughout the town, throughout the city. And then the guy, Mr. Rick, his name, said, hey, I'll go ahead and swab some DNA. And then he gave it to one of Kirk's family members from the area. He said, hey, if Kirk wants to check and find out about these rumors that he's hearing about, it's on him. He can go find out. So eventually Kirk Franklin did go and get the DNA test, and it came back positive. It came back positive. This man was his father, and he went to go meet him for the first time. Kirk Franklin is over 50, I believe 53. His father had to be closing in on 70. They met for the first time. The conversation, it was hard to even fully explain it, because it was a moment at the end of it after they processed it. And Kirk Franklin, you could see that something was really missing and lacking in him. Just the way that he uttered the words, I want to hug you, but I'm not really sure how this is going to work. I don't know if it'll be the best hug, but I just want to, and then like the dad had to, like, he was like shaking in his, attempt to, execute the hug. It was like he didn't understand how to hug somebody. And his biological dad, Mr. Rick, initiated the hug, and then they embraced, and it was touching. It was genuinely a heartwarming moment. I don't know how anybody could watch that and not feel something. And so with that being said, with that happening, Kirk then went to his biological mom, and now we're more or less up to speed on the story I told at the beginning of this video, where she denied it at first. She denied it outright. She said she didn't believe the results. So they all teamed up and went together. They went down to the same place, to the same lab at the same time, and they redid the test a second time and got the same results. And the mother still 100% wholeheartedly denied the results. She didn't want to believe it. She didn't want to accept it. She didn't want to see him heal. She didn't want him to be whole. Because as long as he's whole, long as he's not whole, she has something over him. And it broke her heart. We saw a villain cry genuine tears of pain. Genuine tears of pain. Because the hero's plan was successful. It was the most eerie thing to watch. Never seen anything like that. I just can't get the quote out of my head where she's crying, saying, I've wanted this so badly. Wanted what so badly? And I still can't have you. Like, how did you lose him any more than what you already had lost him? Y'all hadn't talked in years. So it's just puzzling that she's saying, as a result of this, I can't have you. I only can interpret that as her saying that because he's not broken, she's not necessary. She's lost her only purpose in his life, just to hold something over him. The story goes on where Kirk Franklin, who had some contentious moments that went public with his son, where the son released some audio of Kirk Franklin going off on him, like a lot of celebrity kids do when they expose their parents for being parents. I can't even remember exactly how bad it was. That's not really important, but it happened. And so it was necessary for the sake of the documentary, very necessary for the sake of the documentary, that he rekindled the relationship with his son. They hadn't spoken in 2 years. They met. He let his son know the results. The son cried. Kirk Franklin cried again. They embraced, and things looked to be really patched up in his life. And just from the standpoint of fathers, I talk about fathers a lot on my channel. Fathers get a bad rep. It's a lot of mothers who are every bit as spiteful as Kirk Franklin's mother, who didn't give the kid up for adoption. They actually raised it and ruined it. And meanwhile, the dad is the villain in the story, but we can see who the real villain is in some of these stories. And I'm glad that people are finally putting this stuff out there. Basically, in so many words, said his relationship with his mother is not possible. You know, he pleaded with her, you got to give me this, you got to acknowledge this, you have to, and she refused to acknowledge. It was an absolute utter refusal to acknowledge a DNA test, 2 DNA tests that said 99.99999% that this is the Father in absolute and utter denial. It was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. But I must say this, watching this documentary, like it's Kirk Franklin's biggest accomplishment in my eyes, and Melodies from Heaven was the jam. And Kirk Franklin makes a lot of great music, but this is one of his biggest accomplishments. I'm so glad he put this out there. And the last thing I'll say on a more lighter note, on a funny note, something that I've always wanted to say about Kirk Franklin, since I got the floor right now to speak on him. Kirk, you have got to stop twerking in the name of Jesus. Those dances that you be doing on stage, if any kid did that in the sanctuary during praise and worship, they would be snatched out of the church by their ear by one of the church mothers. You got to stop twerking in the name of Jesus. You really do. But other than that, I needed to get that off my chest. I really did. But other than that, man, this was beautiful. This was absolutely beautiful.